Afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and then we are nationally syndicated on Abundant TV, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. So thank you so much for watching. You can also find us on the web, icradio.media that way. And, you can download the app just as easy as you can and listen to us that way as well. I have a special friend with me right now. I've known this guy a very long time. His name is Rick Staines, and he is a security specialist. He's a farmer now. I would have never thought that. Back in the day when we were friends, we were both like city people, working the American dream and all that kind of stuff. And now we're both farmers. Crazy.
Yeah. Yep. No, I would never have penned me for a farmer, but
me either.
When I look back to my, and I'm technically not, I just own a farm. We don't have anything on it right now. So
I'm learning a lot of stuff, and it comes back to you. Like my granddad was a farmer. And so I thought he was killing plants and stuff, and actually he was doing the right thing. So learned a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. And I mean, it's funny because when I've spoken to family members, they're like, their idea of a farm is completely different from what it actually is. They don't think, I was asked about like when we, talking about meat, we get meat, we get the cows and we grow them and let them, build up, and then we take them to slaughter. And they're like, oh, really? But can't we go to the supermarket? No. And where do you think the supermarkets get it from?
They've been slaughtered there too.
Yes. So yeah, there's that. But I mean, it's like right now, talking about getting some chickens, and because they're like primo, they're like gold dust.
I know it. It's like, do you want a block of gold or maybe a couple of chickens? I'll take the chickens. I mean, it's just crazy, the egg prices.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, but we can't just put them in a specific place. There has to be a design done for the hutch, and it has to be, we're going to build it, or she's going to build it with her nephew, because apparently I don't follow rules and instructions very well.
You? Me. No, I'm not a shock. Yeah, I'm shocked that you don't follow rules. But chickens, I mean, free range them.
Well, we will to a degree. I mean, we will to a degree. I mean, they're going to have a nice hutch and they'll have plenty of place, come outside. I don't know if you've ever watched Homestead Rescue on Animal Channel. Really, really good. It's really, really good. So there was a couple on there that were living in, let me say, I think it was like somewhere like Arkansas or something like that. They bought some land and they wanted to free range everything, their pigs and their chickens.
Oh, no way.
Which they did. And the first thing, the guy turns up and he goes, okay, so that's the house. He goes, where do you go to the toilet? Where do you go to the toilet? They go like, anyway, he goes, okay, so where about the animals? And then he said, look, first of all, he goes, you have to have a place to go. And he goes, so do you pen any of these animals in? No. Okay. Any of your animals die? He said, well, we had like 20 pigs and we've only got like 10. And we had 60 chickens, and now we've only got 15 because of the hawks.
How do you kill them? Owls?
Yeah, they're just like literally because he goes, look at this guy. You see all the hawks flying around because it's a free range shop for them.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, no, you have to pen the animals in. And he's like, well, we don't believe that. And it's like, these millennials, it's like they didn't want to pen them in because they didn't want to offend them or hurt them. And it's like, dude. So in the end, he had two male pigs as well. And he made him shoot one. He said, you're going to shoot this one. He said, because the trouble is male pigs like to get the females pregnant, but they want to get them pregnant all the time. So if they're carrying babies, they hassle them so much they miscarry so they can do it again. Mm-hmm. So you got two of these boars doing this. He goes, you only need one boar for all the one. So he said, this one, he said, you're going to eat it. So he made him shoot it. And I'm like, yes, such a great show.
I got to see that.
It's a good show. It's on Animal Planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like my chickens. They're named. I'm sorry.
Is that a wise thing?
Now, I like their eggs. The eggs are like the best. You'll never. I just think my grandmother was snooty about that. She would say,
Uh,
"Oh, those came from a store." She was correct. I
yeah,
mean, they are better eggs.
you can tell. I mean, you know, I used to just buy eggs because I'm a guy. We just buy stuff, and then I was told, no,
Mhm.
you want to get these ones have to be brown. Get it, and then you see the yolk is the difference. And you always tell by the yolk.
Mhm.
And yeah, so yeah, I've learned that much. So yeah, they'll have a good pen here. They have a good runaround.
Oh
And
yeah,
because
you're gonna bake some of those cakes and stuff. Remember that chocolate cake you
yeah,
baked? Man,
well,
that was good. So,
um,
so I'm still dreaming about that cake. I mean, it was really good because I love chocolate. But if you used those eggs in that cake, it would be even better.
yeah, and that's another thing that my wife does. She's actually a very good cake maker. So she wants to do a little bit more at home with
Mhm.
baking and stuff like that. So yeah, so the eggs would be great for that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that cake was a one-off. I didn't do anything after that for the show with the with the baking and the cooking. Well, I couldn't compete with you. Um,
Well, I found that the camera guys will give you the best angles if you bake cookies and stuff like that for them. So, yeah.
right. Well, yeah, there is that. That's why I used to, give you a little bit of a knock
Uh,
before we went in for, you, and then they'd have to cut to me too because you'd be laughing too much.
that's true.
It went.
Yeah, I remember also on one of the shows. Now, guys, this is back, and you can go back. You can find some of these on YouTube.
Mhm.
Just type in The Edge, and you'll find some of the shows. There's one we did, and so you were going to show me how, like, if someone comes at me, what to do.
Yes.
And so I wound up flipping you out. Remember that?
No. I don't
You
remember you.
know. So
I
you
don't
thought
remember
I was
that.
going to be. You thought I wouldn't do. You thought I would just stand there, and I didn't. I didn't just stand there. So, but anyway, you got to go back. I'll find that. I'm going to
Yeah,
find it,
find that
and I
one.
want to put it on Facebook.
I
So
need I
everybody,
need to be reminded, obviously, that
and
you you did
I'll
that.
tag you on it so you can see what I'm talking about. But anyway, but first I had a dress on, and I said I can't do this today. I have a dress on, and you said it doesn't matter, and I said I'm not going to do it. And so and then I thought, then you dared me or something. I don't remember what. And then I had to do it.
It's like you're so easy to read. I dared you because I knew that you wouldn't turn down a dare. Because
I
that's
would. Yeah.
Donna. Yeah, that's Donna.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, you know something? I went by the Quintard Mall
Hmm.
to talk with them about advertising, and there's remember how it used to be really busy and just
It's it's no longer anything viable. Sad, really. I went there probably a couple of years ago when we were selling the trailers, and I went down. I thought I'd pop down by the Quintard Mall, and I was so disappointed. But I think we all knew where it was going to go once they were building those outlet malls and stuff up the way a little bit.
yeah. But you know something? I still say if they had the right person, if they had the right person to market it, I think you could bring it back.
Well, not to say anything bad against the management team for them all, but they kind of sucked.
Well, I
I
mean, you
mean,
gotta have you gotta really want it to work. I mean, you have to. It's like anything, like a business or whatever. Like in business, the business world. You and I have both been in the business world for a long time, and things happen. I mean, the economy changes. It's good for a few years, and you
Mhm.
get a rotten president, and it turns
Yeah.
bad. So things just kind of,
Be-
and you have to adjust for it, and
Well,
not go back in a room somewhere and cry about it. You adjust.
well, that's one thing they wouldn't do because I remember when they brought me in, and they gave me basically the SOPs for all the security stuff. And there was a
Mhm.
couple of things that I said, well, look, this needs to be changed because this is wrong. Because whenever they put out a code Adam for security, everybody knows what code Adam is. But they had 3 code Adams. And I'm like, but you've got 3 code Adams. A code Adam meaning you have a child that's missing, which is like the number 1. I
Mhm.
said, then you've got one where you have the child, but you can't find the parents, which is easy. And then you've just got the regular one, which is someone's come up and I've lost my party, my wife or whatever, and you try and find them. So
Mhm.
I said, so we go code Adam, which is red. I said, then we go code Bravo, which is you know, like a yellowy whatever, and then we go code Charlie, and they're going like, that makes no sense. I'm like, well, it does if you let it sink in, because you're not a code Adam if you've got the child or it's no child missing. Because as soon as you say code Adam, nobody else listens to anything beyond what you've just said.
Yeah.
They just go crazy, and then it all just lights up. I said, you have to give it and they would not let me change anything. They fought me all the way. And I said, you know what? Give it to somebody else. I'm not doing this anymore. It was very, and then there was the stuff that we couldn't do as security. They wouldn't let us go into certain stores. They wouldn't let us go in any stores and talk to people, because if we went into someone's store, we didn't go into somebody else's store, that was seen as favoritism. And I'm like, well, it is, because I don't like that person, but these persons, it's human nature. I said, I like these people because they talk to me. These people don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, but you know, you and who was it? Was it Brandy? Brandy, I think was her name Brandy? And she was on the security team with you. You two made it.
Burgundy.
And you and Burgundy made it cool. It's like, you know, because first of all, people were just kind of walking around like they were afraid to do anything, the other people. But then you and Burgundy made it cool. I felt safer. She
was the same age as my daughter. In fact, Burgundy's just had twins. They didn't think that she could naturally have babies because her hips got messed up in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So a few years ago, she'd adopted Mikey, which was I think it was her brother or sister's little boy, and she was raising him. And then she's just had Lily and Luke, twins.
Wow.
And she looked so amazing. She's married now. She's married a guy from Louisiana. They got a lovely house down in wherever it is. So she's doing really, really well, and she's got a degree in psychology. So she's done really well for herself, and she was a smart cookie.
She was.
The thing is with that is the smart cookies got out, because if you were a smart cookie, you knew when to leave, and if you weren't a smart cookie, you were looking forward to that 83 cents, you know, an hour raise. If you, in fact, one guy got one guy was telling me that he got like a 50-cent raise, and I'm like, good for you. And he'd gone up to like $8 an hour or something stupid like that. And I'm like, they would murder somebody if they found how much. I wasn't on much more, but what I came in at, because they looked at my resume and they're like, well, yeah, we want you, but we're going to have to pay you this.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun.
It may have been the way you looked at people sometimes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, not at me. I mean, I know you were friends, but what I mean is just, I don't know. People, it can be intimidating to some people.
I think sometimes it's actually more my accent that's intimidating than my stare. My stare can be intimidating if I give you the right look, but my accent, I've had people actually cry when I started speaking. I bailed a guy out once, and him and his girlfriend, they were in for like $500,000 each. It was crazy. So I bailed them out, and they they just kept oh, well, yeah, we'll call you. And they never called me when they were supposed to call me. Every Monday they were supposed to call me, and they were supposed to pay me money. And in the end, I caught this guy at the courthouse, and I ripped him up one side, down the other in front of a deputy. And the deputy's like, give me the thumbs up. And I said to him, I said, you got 10 minutes to get to my office. So when I get back there, you better be at my office. And when I arrived there, he was there. I opened the door, got him in there, and as I turned around, I'm wearing a suit. I turned around and locked the door, and I literally turned and looked at him. I went to start speaking. He just started crying. I'm like, why are you crying? He goes, it's that accent. It's so intimidating. So I'm trying not to laugh, and I go like, yeah, and I don't mind getting blood on the suit too. So here's the thing for you. If I have to come to Blount County to get you, I'm going to, on the way back, I'm going to stop every mile and punch you, just for my own gratification.
Just because you want to.
And literally the next day, he took a plea deal and and took coding over dealing with me. So I'm like, yes.
He'd rather do that than deal with you.
Yeah. It's going to cost him a whole lot more money. It's going to cost him a lot of money to do coding, because you have to pay for all those drug tests. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's crazy. But yeah.
You remember the woman at the mall? She had just had a baby. She had a baby in a cart, buggy or whatever, baby buggy, and so she had like a negligee on or something. You remember that one? And
No.
she was like right ahead of me, and I saw you walking towards, and you looked at me and went like that, and then you walked, and she had like it was like a nightgown or something on, and you
Oh,
had to tell her that she had to leave. I mean, she just had a baby, so you can imagine the body wasn't exactly shaped for what she had on.
no, I don't. Actually, I don't remember. There's a lot of things I don't remember. There's a few things that I do remember. I remember the kids. The kids used to give us so much grief. I remember once we were walking past, and it was actually in the food court. And as I looked at this kid, I was watching him. He turned and went "Pew," like that. So I'm like, so I went around and had a chat with him, and he like give me some, grief. And then a little while later, I saw him doing something else, and I'm like, so he goes, "What do you want now?" So I don't want nothing. I said, "But you can leave." I said, "You're actually banned from the mall right now." He goes, "What does that mean?" I said, "If you've got 5 minutes to leave, that means the car lot too. If you're not off the car lot in 5 minutes, I'm going to have you arrested for trespassing." "Oh, you can't do that." "Yes, I can." And then, it was always the kids, because they were always the ones that were just walking around the mall because their parents were just leaving them there because it was cheap babysitting.
I'd never do that. I never. And I would tell some of the mothers, they would drop their teenage daughters off, and I would say, "Look, there," and I would say, "There is a guy who walks around. You remember the guy who wore the Viagra cap?"
Oh, God.
I couldn't believe it. So the first time he walks by me, he has it on, and he kind of tips his head at me, and I'm looking like, first of all, I'm sorry, honey. Not even if you were the last man and I was the last woman on earth, okay? Never.
Right.
So, but he always looked at these young teenage girls, and I would tell the moms, I would say, "Don't drop your daughters off. There's a freak, and they can't get rid of him." I mean, he's just always. He was this kind of little guy. You remember? I mean, I bet he didn't weigh 100 pounds. And I was like, I guess you need all the help you can get. I mean,
it's just the fact that my question would be, so obviously someone from marketing from Viagra decided, oh yeah, it would be a great job. Let's put our name on a hat. Just put our name on some stuff for people to wear in the streets. Like, and who would wear that? I mean, I know. It's like when my boss came back once when I worked as a bail bondsman. He came back with Dog the Bounty Hunter hats, and he goes, "I've got this for you," and I'm like, "Great." He goes, "You got to wear it?" I'm like, "No." Said, "Why?" One, I don't want to wear a Dog the Bounty Hunter hat. It gives you no credibility whatsoever. It really does.
True.
I said, if I turn up with that to try and pick someone up, I said, they're going to be laughing. I'm going to be taking them in. They're going to be giggling all the way to the jail. I said, really? Because he was good friends with Dog the Bounty Hunter. And it was like, no, there's just some things you just don't do. It's very rare for me to be even wearing this, which is, my team badge, But, I'm on the farm, so no one can see me.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, this is about, and I've heard this. I've heard that people get more weird and they get into more mischief during a full moon. Did you ever notice that?
Yes. Yeah, I've heard that.
Why is that?
I don't know whether it's anything to do with the moon or whether it's just a cyclic thing. Who knows?
I think it's because you got later hours. I mean, you've got more light outside, so you're able to see more of what you can do.
It could be, but if you look at the way that the world is right now, where the things that are bad or kind of like things that were just like no-nos 10, 15 years ago are now becoming okay and mainstream. And it does beg the question, where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's lots of stuff that goes on which really shouldn't go on. I mean, even if you want to go down, I mean, even I'm reading a book right now, and I've got both books. I'm started on book one, which is about the background and into the whole Epstein stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He was how he was a CIA asset and how he was in with all that stuff. And it's so deep. I mean, all this stuff's so deep, and because people are like, well, Tom Hanks, when someone's, because we've got one guy come out and already called him a paedophile, and when they make movies, because people go like, well, yeah, but he was great in that movie. He played that part. He played Mr. Rogers. Yeah, but do you not think that they do that for a reason? Do you not think they do that to weigh off against the bad side to make him look like this is what he's really like. He's not like what you're hearing. And there's I ask myself loads of questions now because it's like you start digging. In fact, there's a new channel on Roku called Burrow, Burow, and it's all of the conspiracy theory stuff, 9/11. It's great. You get in there and you come out there and like going, because there's a lot of stuff. In fact, I watched one earlier before we come on here about the Titanic, and the Titanic wasn't the Titanic, and there was a lot of money people on that. There was actually people who were opposed to the gold reserve on that ship. Okay, Morgan Stanley, okay, big financial house. They wanted the gold reserve. They had lots of fingers in all financial pies. Apparently, the owners they owned the White Star Line, Red Star Line, and the Olympic, which was a sister ship of the Titanic, got damaged like a couple of years earlier, and they didn't get a payout on it because the Royal Navy investigated it and did. So it went back to England. They'd lost a lot of money on it. So what they did is they renamed it the Titanic. And when it sank, they got money back from that one, and they also lost the people that opposed. And you go like, oh my God, this is another rabbit hole that I've got to go down now. Because if something happens, there's always things that are reason why it happens.
You have to follow the money. I mean, it's all about money and power.
It is. And it's kind of weird. And it's just, you watch these shows and you just come out of there, and I end up asking myself so many more questions than I have answers. And then I've got relatives sitting there going like, do you believe all this stuff? I said, well, you've just watched this. Do you think what I've been saying is absolutely true, or is there because there's no like anything's defined. It's just like there are dots, and you have to join the dots. So once you join the dots, you go like, okay, yeah. It makes more sense when you join the dots, but they're not going to make it easy for you. They're only giving you, there's only snippets out there. But definitely.
Well, let's use politicians, for example. Okay, they go in poor and they leave out millionaires.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than that salary of being a senator, or more than that salary of being whatever.
Yeah. Well, the biggest evidence of that is over the last few years is that Trump actually lost money when he went into the White House. Obama gained it. Biden's gained it. The Clintons obviously gained it because they're just criminals. But yes, being in politics now is all about who you've got in your pocket. It's like who you can keep in your pocket and who's going to pay you, the money, and how much money you can glean from these places. I mean, if you look
but the thing about it, though, Rick, is they turn on each other. I mean, they think, oh, we've got this partnership. We're going to be together. We're going to make all this money. And one will turn on the other one somewhere down the line. They always do. You can time it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the biggest one right now is the FTX stuff and Ukraine, and people like put two and two together, and they've come up with four because all this money that Biden's giving Zelensky's taking his little bit, then he's investing in STX. STX is going like, or FTX, and they're actually a big donor to the Democratic Party over here. So they're just pushing that money back into the Democratic Party. I said, you just washed that money. It's just like, and everybody's taking their little bit for doing it. And people are like, really, you think that? I'm like, well, I think you can think what you want, but that's that's money laundering. I said, it goes out dirty, comes back clean. So
that's what it's all about. Okay, so I've got to ask you a question. You knew I was going to get on this, I'm pretty sure. And this is about Biden, his car, and documents being in his garage, and all those things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, what can you say?
You can't say anything. I mean, you got people right now. What I forget what the catchphrase they were using now. And you're like, okay, so you've come up with a new catchphrase because it doesn't quite match Trump. Then they're going to try and blame, oh, well, he didn't know they were there. It doesn't matter. He took them from the White House when he was vice president. He doesn't have the same powers as the president. He can't classify or declassify a document, not like the president. So you're looking at two completely different things. And the fact that he came out and said all those things against Trump, and now has been caught with his pants down in a sense with documents, of the same ilk, and they're trying to just brush it under the carpet. I mean, the trouble is what I'm worried about, and someone mentioned this, is like if they find a way of prosecuting Biden, then that could lead to a prosecution of Trump. And you go like, yeah, but it doesn't work like that, because Biden could be prosecuted because he was vice president. Trump was president. And if he had those documents and he declassified, hey, it doesn't really matter what you think. You can go after him all you want. It's not going to make any difference. He declassified them. He had the right and the ability to do, whereas Biden didn't. So if they do prosecute Biden, which I very much doubt they will do, but he's losing so many people in support now, because it's just one thing after other. It's the lies. I mean, just the outright lies that he tells. It's the fact that he's incoherent. He doesn't. I mean, you look at him; he's not even there half the time. He
forgot Kamala's name just the other day. I mean, he forgot her name. I mean, it's just.
Well, he also forgot. When he was singing "Happy Birthday" to Martin Luther King's daughter, I forgot her name, and you're like, really, dude? Come on. Yeah.
Okay, had that been Trump, would it not be in like every outlet, every news media outlet? It would be the smoking gun. How many times have you heard this? We got Trump this time. This is the smoking gun. We got him. But it never materializes. Yeah. So we've heard so much. We're just like, really? You never have the smoking. You say you do. Promise, just come up with it.
The trouble is with Biden. I mean, Biden's smoking guns. Power, and even before to see where it was going, and you can go back to looking at the lead up to that election, and you got Trump. I got people try and convince me that the Democrats stayed at home because they were frightened of COVID, but when they did come out, they voted for Biden, and I'm like, okay, so if you look at the rallies. So you're just saying that all of the Trump supporters that came out to support him were stupid, because the thing is they were more actually forward thinking, because they weren't worried about what they were being told, and actually have been, basically proved right about the whole COVID thing. And I've got friends in England. I talked about this the other day. He's on his 5th jab, and I said to him, dude, stop. I said, if you've listened to the news and you've listened to the reports, I said, it's not doing you any good. It's not doing you any good. Okay, this went out untested. I said, they're having massive problems with heart attacks and everything else. I said, COVID, had they done the right thing at the right time, which is one, give people the right, the hydrochloroquine stuff that Trump was doing, had they given that out, because that's where all the top dogs, all the politicians were taking that stuff, because they didn't want you to have it, because there's no money in that. And it's the same with the other stuff that came in, because it was out of patent. They couldn't make any money on it. And it's all about big money. I said, that's all pharmacists about, is making money.
It's all about money.
It's all about money and power. Follow the money. So my friend's like, well, I think this. I said, well, you can think what you want, but they've already actually admitted all of this. Why do you think that, there was a lawsuit come out? Why do you think people died in the early days? Not because of the COVID. It was actually because of what they were putting into their body, which was reacting the same, which was crystallizing the lungs and everything. I said, because they were doing the wrong thing. They're putting them on a vent. If you went on a ventilator, basically you're done. I said, they could have just done a lot better with a lot less, but they maybe didn't know what they were talking about. And I said to him, well, maybe before you start imposing all this stuff on people, you find out what you're talking about before imposing all this stuff on the people.
That might be wise. That might be wise.
They're a bit more sensible.
I had COVID last year, and I have asthma. I had family members saying, you need to be in the hospital. And I'm like, no way am I going to the hospital. I'm not being put under a ventilator. Well, so I find a doctor, and so she gives me infusions. Now, she did tell me you got to do what I tell you to do, okay? And I said, flags up. I will, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. She kept me out of the hospital, and I was over it. It didn't take me that long to get over it. In today's terms, if you have asthma, it's almost a death sentence when they throw you into the hospital and put you on ventilators.
Yeah. I mean, you know, in hospitals right now, I mean, we've dealt with so many possible healthcare strikes. Hospitals right now, it's hard for them to retain their staff. It's hard for them to retain their staff because of the patient ratios, because that's the biggest issue. In New York, they were having like 1 nurse to every 28 patients, which is crazy. There's no way anybody can do that. So then the travel nurses come in and go like, oh yeah, we'll do this. And then when they get there, they go like, well, we want the ratios between like 1 and 7. And they're like, no, it's going to be 28. Well, we can't work like this. Well, we're paying you a buckload of money to do this. Well, I don't want to do it. So, and I've told people, I said, all of this stuff that was happening in 2020, 2021, where, you know, the nurses, travel nurses were making really good money. I said, eventually it's going to just crash. Because the hospitals can't cope with it. They can't afford to do it. They can't afford to go on strike. They can't afford to pay the travel nurses. You know, then you've got the wage claims from the actual nurses. You've got people going in there just filling the hospital up. I said, we're at a critical point now with all of these hospitals. It's crazy. It's just crazy. You know, talking about coming out with like some other variant, or, you know, for the next thing to come along and mess everything up.
That's true. Rick, we've got to go into a commercial break. About 3 commercials and we'll be right back in. So you hang in there, okay? My filler guy next.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for 2 or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number 1 as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. If that that doesn't make you hungry. I don't know. This is where we buy all of our beef, and it is the absolute best. It's just right down the road from us, and I'll have to tell you, there's a huge difference between buying your beef on Free Ranch than the grocery store.
It's unfair because I can't eat today. I'm sitting there, my stomach's hurting now.
It wasn't planned, I promise.
It's okay. You're fine.
But had I thought about it, I would have put another one in there that's really.
Ooh. Ooh.
No, I'm kidding with you. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge. Thank you so much for watching. It started as The Edge a long time ago and went on to Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was called The Woman's Edge. And so then I decided to bring it back. I kind of like it. I dig it. What do you say, Rick?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I remember the early days. It was a big rush. It was a big rush for me because it's like, I mean, you become this minor celebrity, and it wasn't because it was a minor celebrity. It was what I guess the reaction I used to get from my ex when we were walking out, and I'd have like ladies obviously recognize me from the TV, and they'd wave and they go, "Hi, Rick." She used to get so mad. And it didn't bother me one iota. It really didn't. There was a couple of people. I know one of them was like our friend we discussed earlier. There was somebody else as well who used to just like literally take it to another level. And I'm like, dude, you just need to calm down. Just chill,
I think that's why people liked watching us. I really do, because we were just like having fun. We're just like friends having fun on the show. And
I think because my ex was always worried about she goes, well, your chemistry is good. I'm like, and that's a good thing. That's what
it's supposed to be. Yeah,
that's what it's supposed to be. If you have good chemistry with somebody, you work with it. You don't go like, oh, you can't talk to that person because, I mean, all the stuff she was coming at was like, come on, really, come on, stop. That's just it's craziness.
Yeah, but I did have women who were asking me for your phone number and stuff, and they would say, "Do you mind?" And I couldn't do that. I mean, and I would say, "I'll tell him," which I never did, but I'll tell him, and I doubt it because he's happily married, and so
they're happily not so much, but I mean, yeah, that'd be a whole show on its own. That was a disaster waiting to happen. I'm glad that she's finally found her place and her man, and living in Kentucky now. So good luck to her. But yeah, definitely wasn't happy. I don't think. Well, I know, I wasn't happy.
Well, a lot of water went over the dam since then. So yes. But the good thing about the show is I made a lot of good friends, a lot of really good friends. Met you had always a good bunch of people as well, not only just on the show but at the mall. It was nice. It was actually, I enjoyed going to work at that time, even though the pay wasn't great. I enjoyed going to work just because, again, sometimes it's the people that you work with that make the work better. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a question, and this pertains to the way people see things now. And I did ask a question about, the sun and the moon. And so we have a full moon. Do people get more weird? I just always kind of thought, well, it's because it's brighter outside. You can see what you're doing better. It's the reason. I don't think it's anything really weird, mystic, or anything like that. You can just see better outside when you have a full moon. But let's talk about the way people believe. It almost feels like common sense is like, okay, I'll put it to you this way. I'm interviewing two people, okay, for a position for a job with my company. Someone exerts some kind of common sense to a question I ask. They don't look like I just shot them in the face because I asked a common sense question. I'm probably not going to hire the person that I think I'm going to have to babysit. Maybe they're sitting in front of their phone while I'm talking to them, sending texts, whatever. There are things that I realize it's a different world, but it's kind of not. There are still some old-fashioned ideas that work.
Yeah.
What about job interviews?
Sorry, say that bit again.
Yeah. It's like a job interview.
Oh, well, job interviews.
To train people now how to act on a job interview.
Yeah, I mean, having been on lots of job interviews, it always makes me laugh, because you turn up, you're well presented, wear a shirt, tie, jacket, having a pen, and one guy was impressed that I had my own pen. I'm like, well, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, well, we don't normally get people of your caliber. You've got your own pen. I'm like, okay, it's not that big a deal. But he goes, but you're also very smart. And I'm turning up to work in a metal factory, so I didn't have to go the extra mile. The fact is, if you go the extra mile, people look at it and go like, it's first impression. So the first night, I did a good job, but then you realize how monotonous, how boring it was, and then so I started bucking the system, and then got asked to leave. But the number of people that I know that have gone to interviews, and then you look at what they wore or heard what they said, and you go like, what were you thinking? Why would you do that? Oh, well, yeah, it's because that's who I am. I had a guy who actually had a bit of hair with elastic band on it sticking up.
A man bun.
No, it wasn't a man bun. It was literally like a Cupid doll, and just like a little, like a bunch, but just straight up, maybe like 7-8 strands of hair. And I'm like to him, I said, okay, so we'll give you a job. And this was working for an agency. We'll give you a job if you take that out of your hair right now, go outside, go to the bathroom, take it, just smooth it down. He goes, but man, this is who I am, man. I'm like, okay, but you're just telling me right now that 1, you're not listening to me. 2, you can't follow orders. And 3, you really look stupid. I said, so that's the only way you're going to get a job. And that, again, that's a whole crazy story. He threatened everybody in the building on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And, was very unpleasant. So I was unpleasant back. But, it makes you wonder what people are thinking these days. It's almost like because they've got, I understand that they want their own personal liberty. They want to express themselves. But there's some point where if your employer is giving you a job and going to pay you a wage, and again, that's a big issue these days, because if you're making more money than they think you should be making, then they want a part of it. Well, no, that's not how it works. But things have changed so drastically since I started interviewing many, many years ago. It's just crazy. I would hate to be an interviewer now.
I'm very happy with what I do. This is really cool because of the computers and I handle all of this myself. So I don't need anybody. But you know how many people who will get in contact with me and say, do you need somebody to help you with the technical end of it? And I'm like, no. First of all, they show up like weird looking and acting like they could kill me. It's just, it's weirdness. Remember, we used to own some rental property. I sold it. I got tired of it. This one guy calls one time. I put an ad in the paper, and it was a big old house, and I made 3 apartments out of it. It would have been awesome could you have found decent people. So this one guy calls, and he sounds really weird on the phone. He said, do you still have the apartment? And I said, yeah, I'm taking applications right now. And he said, do you allow pets? And I said, no, because I had my run of that. People will, it's just like, no, they destroy more than you'd never make anything. And so he said, well, it's not a dog. And I said, okay, but still no. And he said, and it's not a cat. And I said, well, then what is it? It was a snake. And I said, no. And he said, but it stays in its cage. And I said, there's no snake that stays in a cage. And I have 2 other tenants who would freak out if they knew you had a pet snake in one of my apartments. No. Then he gets really mad because I said no. Supposedly he's going to sue me and all this kind of stuff based on me not letting you in because he has a snake.
It's your choice, though. That's the thing. It's your business, your choice. We have people that come on our jobs, and we have a policy where you can't bring your family. They'll bring their whole family.
I'm sorry. There's a guy one time brought his mother. Okay. So when I graduated, the minute I graduated from high school, I was already out. I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to, but there's so many people who don't. And if you're going to bring your mother with you to your job interview, I'm sorry.
It's not going to do you any good. Not going to do you any good. We have people that bring their, the whole family to stay in a hotel room. And then so the policy is they have to sign a bit of paper saying that the only person that can go down to the front desk is the person whose name is on the room. No one else will be entertained. We will not do anything else from no room service, no nothing, no bits added to the rooms, whatever. We have the emotional support animals, which can range from, obviously cats and dogs to other stupid animals. We had one woman sneak in her cats, and it was only found out when, obviously cleaners got in there and they could smell cats.
Mhm.
So she was billed, I think it came to close to $1,000, and she was so mad. And I said, that's fine. You're going to get billed this, and we're asking you to leave right now. So she also had to pay for herself to go home, which wasn't cheap either because she'd driven. And I always, when she went out to her car, I always wondered whose car it was, because it was like the Duke, the Nissan Duke thing, and it had a tent on the top, this like tent thing. Like, whose is that? And then when she came, I was like, oh, go figure. Yeah, go figure that one. But yeah, people are just crazy. They just don't listen. They do what they want, and then they wonder why, you have rules in place. A friend of mine, I found out more about him on one flight. So he gets on the plane pre-boards, and he gets an emergency exit row. So I'm like, I didn't know that at the time. And then when we were getting off, I'm getting out of my Comfort Plus seat, and he's literally right behind me from the back of the plane. And I said to him, did you just run down the aisle? And he's like, yes. I'm like, but all these people here. He goes, I don't care about them. I said, well, you should do, because there's a protocol. I said, were you sitting in an emergency exit row? Yeah. I said, how can you be on an emergency exit row when you had extra time to get on board because there's something wrong with you, like your back's out? Well, I'm like, yeah. I said, where's your bag? He said, he goes, oh, it's in first class. I said, you are a typical Democrat. I said, there are rules, and you just do not want to follow them. It's all about you. And he got really offended. He was like, really? Really? That's what you think? I'm like, yeah, really, I do. Yeah. Because you're doing what you want to do, but, regardless of what has been said or what's been posted or what you should be doing. You're doing it because you want to do. It's all about Jim.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're right.
But it's true.
You're absolutely right.
Think about other people. Just think about other people.
We were talking earlier about the mall and the creepy people who would come in the mall and that kind of thing. So I was asked one time to help with a beauty pageant for little girls. It's like they were from the age like 6 months. Or why you'd want to put a 6-month-old in a beauty contest is beyond me, but it's 6 months to 6 years old. So I started looking around, and I saw creepy people in there. And I'm thinking that a little girl's beauty contest, this is going to attract the creeps. Okay. So there's this one guy who was especially creepy. So we had this little break. And so he was getting something to drink or eat or something. So I walked over there where he was, and I just had to ask. I said, do you have a child or a grandchild in the beauty contest? He said, no. And he gave me this smirky grin. I wanted to slap it off of him. And I'm looking at him like, I know why you're here, creep.
Yeah, no, that doesn't always work out well, and again, in the current climate, it would be, is it deemed acceptable? I mean, I was looking last night about all these teenagers that are being flown and bussed all over the country by these companies, and these companies are being paid by the government, and it literally is human trafficking.
Yes, it is.
And it's like, wow, it's crazy. We just live in a really bad world right now with lots of bad things going on. And then you've got people in Davos, talking basically between the legs. I mean, they want to know how you're traveling to a certain place, what you're eating, where you're eating, why you're eating, and where you're going to, so that they can go like, okay, well, they want to build databases. And on the databases, they can build, obviously programs and whatever else to shut us down, because they don't want us traveling. They don't want us traveling. No one wants us traveling. And, these people, it's like, they perpetuate all of this bad stuff, whether it be that or whether it be, the climate change, which is, and the climate change argument is funny because someone actually did some research, and they're saying that, obviously carbon dioxide goes up as the planet, and it's actually the other way around. It's actually as the planet heats up, carbon dioxide goes up. It's not the cause of the planet heating up is not the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is because the planet's heating up. So it's completely blown that argument, you know. And it says like because like I was watching it. What's his name? The politician. Al Gore was the first one, but now he's the guru right now. And he was being asked some questions the other day. And he got to a point where he goes, I can't talk anymore because you're not asking me any sensible questions. And you're like, well, we actually are asking you sensible questions. You're just not answering them, because he was deflecting everything. He ran for president a couple of years ago. But he's one of these people that travel around in their private jets to come and tell us that we should, you know, not drive.
That kills me. That kills me right there. Okay, so you're going to go in your private jet. Why don't you just do Zoom or Restream like everybody else does?
Yeah.
You know, if you believed it. First of all, if you really believed it, would you be buying land out on the coast?
Yeah, again, you know, the water level's rising. Well, no, it's not, because if it was, one, you know, Bammers wouldn't have bought where they bought. You know, you wouldn't be.
Why are you buying barefoot property?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get insurance on that property, because I guarantee you, all the insurance companies would go, no, it's too much of a risk, because they know they'll be able to pay out money. So yeah, no, it's just there to, and it's like everything else. If they say it long enough, hard enough, every single day, some people will believe it, because they won't research, they just believe. If it's on the news, if anything is on the news right now, it's because they want you to know about it. You have to look off of the news, what they're not reporting. And if they are reporting anything on the news, you have to do some more research to find out why it's on the news, because guarantee they're not telling you everything, and it's got their slant on it.
Well, like human trafficking is happening here too. I mean, it's not just Chicago or New York. It's right here, right here in DeKalb County. Some people were caught going down I-59 in Fort Payne going towards Chattanooga. So you have this, it's like a trafficking course, just like drugs in the Anniston, Oxford area because of Atlanta and Birmingham, same corridor. This is Birmingham to Chattanooga. So this guy was stopped. There were some young girls in the back seat. And so the deputy knew something weird was going on, you know. So the girls couldn't speak English. I mean, it was just horrible. Well, they take the guy in. And so they're talking with the girls, and they were young girls, by the way. And so they were promised, they had to find an interpreter, but they were promised a better world to be here in the United States. They're putting them in the slave trade.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more common than people realize. And
it's deeper than we think. It's not just some jack down the street. It's higher up than that.
No. And, you know, and the thing about Trump is Trump highlighted all this, and, you know, and even though people are taking notice, sometimes it feels like it's not enough. It's too little too late, because these are old. It's been going on for a long time, you know, whether it be, you know, like Epstein's Island. And if you look at the list of people that have been to Epstein's Island, you just go like, oh, wow. You know, some crazy people that you wouldn't expect to be on there.
Yeah, every time I think of that, I think about Bill Clinton with the dress, the blue dress and the red heels, the big portrait of him.
Well, you think that our beloved king has been there too, even though everybody's like on Andrew because, you know, he actually got caught. Charles's name was on that list too. So and then, because I don't know if you ever, there's actually a good Netflix show. I think it's Netflix. It's either on Netflix or Amazon. It's about Jimmy Savile, who was a big celebrity in the UK in the 70s and 80s. And he used to do a show called Jim Will Fix It. So these kids would write in and with their dreams, and he would try and fix it for them. Well, it came to light, you know, and it was coming to light all the way through his career that he was a pedophile. But no one did anything. No one did anything. He did a lot for Stoke Mandeville Hospital. And then he would also was like an advisor to the royal family. They knew him personally, would go there and you know, give Charles and, you know, other people advice and stuff. And finally, you know, when it all came out. I mean, he died. They never got him on it. But it's like the authorities covered it up just simply because of who he knew, because of all the connections, because that house of cards could have just like gone up and fallen down really quickly. And it's a little bit like Epstein. Epstein has and had so much junk on people because that's what he did. Say you garner information or want something done. Okay, well then I've got something on you. You're going to do this or you're going to say this, because if you don't, I'm going to send this out to the, you know, the press.
I know someone who used to work in a prison, and she said that when you had suicide watch on somebody had to be awake. Cameras had to be on it. Nothing stronger than toilet tissue. They wore paper for clothing, okay? So they couldn't strip it and hang themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very, she said, you know, I'm not buying this whole thing with Epstein. She said, I'm not. She said, because I worked there. You would have been fired on the spot had you went to sleep during a suicide watch.
Yeah. You know, and the cameras were faulty, and, you know, just the fact that it actually happened, and the two people that supposedly were watching him were otherwise engaged, either were sleeping or doing something else. You know, you smell a rat as soon as you heard that news. You're like, yeah, okay. It is what it is. It's the same with, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot by Jack Ruby and then Jack Ruby getting killed by somebody else. It's like, okay, well, they're just killing that line of inquiry. It's done. You know, once it's done, it's dusted and it's buried. So.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, so let's just say you're down on your luck, and someone offers you a job to assassinate somebody you're supposedly going to be taken care of the rest of your life. It never works out that way. You always wind up getting killed. I mean,
no, because if you've been asked to do something,
to eliminate you.
Yes, who has a direct line to then, especially if it's done like in person, or, you know, there's any link to the parties that wanted it done, and you're the only person that can actually give any information, then I guarantee you, you know,
You're next.
Well, you look at Shooter, Mark Wahlberg, classic. You know, they get him to do something, so he gets all the information for him, gives them the likely spots, and then they frame him. And the next thing they want to do is kill him.
I think that's what's going to happen to Biden. That he was promised a last hurrah, and he's not doing good. I mean, and then he wants to run again. He would be what, 90 years old at the end of it.
He doesn't.
I just. But who are they going to pick? I mean, I'd rather have him than Kamala or whatever. What's her name?
Kamala.
I can't. I try to forget it. The VP.
Kamala Harris is she's special in the fact that she's the only person I know right now that can actually word a sentence with the same words in different order and say exactly nothing.
Nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Coils round and goes up her own backside. I mean, that's how bad it is, and it's painful to watch somebody who is in that position be so dumb.
It's just embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. I mean, this government has embarrassed the Australians. I love watching Australian TV because they just literally love Biden because he just gives them so much ammunition.
He does.
I'm sure the British are the same way, but Kamala Harris does exactly the same. She's just right there with Biden. The fact that their information and the way they deliver it or don't deliver it even.
It's unreal. It's unreal. We've got to go. Thank you so much for being on the show, Rick. It's always a pleasure.
Always. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You know, Australia is one of we have some satellites, some networks set up in Australia through Abundant TV. So that's more good news. Thank you again so much for being on the show. And thank you for watching. We're going to have another awesome guest coming up in just a few minutes. Bye, Rick. Take care.
Thank you.